Well, it's clear I've got the willpower of a gnat, and despite promises to the contrary, during the Black Friday sales period, well, I succumbed to temptation and bought both hardware and software for Flight Sim. Were you a better person than me? Confessions in the comments below. I went for something I've had my eye on for a couple of months now, but the price has always put me off. But I have a use case right now for greater precision. Yes, you guessed it, with my DOF Reality H3 motion platform. Details later in the video. Welcome to the Sim Hangar. My name's Mark. Thank you very much for watching, and let's get started. Two things will strike you about these rudder pedals other than the unique design. Firstly, it comes in at a hefty 7 kg, and secondly, it's all metal construction, with a single exception of the shroud or cover on the brake travel limiter. In a nutshell, it's built to last. It arrives pre-assembled with the exception of the rudder pedals themselves. Fitting them is a simple process, and any tools required are supplied, both for the fitting of the pedals as well as a plethora of adjustments you can do to set up the pedals exactly as you want them. I purchased my set directly from Amazon. They are without doubt expensive. Not everybody's cup of tea, obviously, but for what you get, they're not overpriced. A fair amount of thought went into the design of these pedals so that the movement was smooth. There is a central position, but no clear and defined detent, plus in my opinion a greater range of movement than what we're used to. You can adjust the angle of the pedals by changing the position of this bracket here to suit your personal preference, or set it up for GA or airliner flying. It's also possible to adjust the toe brake travel distance, although I found I didn't need to do that. It was fine at default. You can also fine-tune the position of the pedals by selecting one of 5 different options on this bracket here. Mine set up for GA flying. The rudder tension can be adjusted quickly and easily. There are 2 springs and each of them can move into one of 2 positions. If they're at the top, then travel is less and therefore tension less. Move them to the bottom. Spring travel is greater and therefore tension is greater. Thrustmaster say that with both springs at the top, your tension's about 2.5 kg, and if both springs are at the bottom, then the tension's about 5 kg. I found the tension on the rudder pedals with both springs at the bottom set to maximum suited me best. Still a little lighter than what I would have preferred, but better than most and rivaled only by Turtle Beach's rudder pedals. It's a single cable connection, USB-B to the unit, and standard USB to plug into your hub or PC. Due to the unit's weight and 4 rubber feet on the base, it's less likely to slip and slide than most, but I found that depends very much on the surface that it's on. Fairly smooth surface and it holds firm. Short pile carpet and you still get some movement. I mentioned a little earlier that I purchased the Thrustmaster pendulum rudder pedals for use with the DOF Reality H3 motion platform, which is what I'm sitting in right now. But of course they're suitable for any type of static sim setup as well. Now I've only invested probably 7 or maybe even 8 hours worth of use using these pedals at the moment, so certainly not an extensive test, I acknowledge that, but up to this point they've certainly met my expectation in providing me with graduated and fine control, both in terms of graduated brake axis and yaw axis as well. Now, the reason that's important to me is because I'm currently working on the DOF Reality H3 GA settings, and I'm trying to find the best settings that I can to get maximum enjoyment out of my motion rig. And once I do find those settings, I'll certainly be sharing them with you. Now, I've tried various different rudder with the DOF, and the actual rudder plate itself is quite short and somewhat restrictive, and even fitting on the pendulum rudders required a slight modification. However, they're on and they're now working fine. Now, I've tried most rudder pedals with the exception possibly of the MFG and rudder pedals like that. However, most rudder pedals, and I think rudders are some of the most overlooked and underrated flight sim peripherals. They really do give you that extra degree of control that you need. Certainly when it's windy, a crosswind, something like that, or you need to descend quickly. A lot of the rudder pedals don't provide that level of control, with the exception perhaps of the Turtle Beach rudder pedals, which are still best bang for your buck in my opinion, but they are very long, and really too long I found to fit comfortably on this particular rig. Certainly they are my recommendation if you're looking for a good set of rudder pedals. Who would want to purchase these pendulum rudders? Well, if you're looking for that extra finite level of control, then there's little in the market that I'm aware of personally, maybe out there, but I'm not aware, that provide this level of control. Now, the pedal layout is not ideal for GA. They are quite far apart, although it does suit me in this motion rig. But coming from Thrustmaster, they're probably designed with bowing in mind. That wouldn't be a surprise, where the pedals are slightly further apart, but it doesn't detract away from the usability of the actual pedals itself. So I've been very impressed with these rudder pedals, far more than I actually hoped for. They've met and exceeded my expectations. So if you're looking for that level of control and you're willing to pay the rather hefty price, normally it's around £450, £460, but that's a personal decision that you'll have to make. Many flight simmers may agree with me that the Flying Iron Spitfire Mark 9 is one of the most challenging aircraft to take off with and to stay aligned with runway. I have trouble staying on the runway, period. But this more granulated control, it's here that it starts to pay dividends. We're in the Cessna 172 with a 16-knot crosswind, and we've got one stage of flaps down as well. Just the gentlest of pressure on the left and right rudder pedals help to keep me aligned with the runway. And once we're up, to stay aligned with the runway, and you can see it yawing against the wind. And of course it's a great help when you're doing coordinated turns. Well, I hope you found this interesting and informative. Stay well and look after yourselves. I'll see you all again in the not too distant future. And ciao for now.